and welcome to the Daily Aus. I'm Zara.
I'm Chloe.
A new digital player is helping to shape public discourse online. How an audience feels about a brand, a narrative, a personality, or a scandal is now being moulded by the rise of bots.
PR bots, to be specific. These bots can be programmed to target your social media algorithms and the content you do or don't get served. In today's deep dive, we'll explore how these digital armies can be mobilised to influence public opinion and even elections.
Now, Chloe, you've become something of a bot expert in the last couple of weeks. But for anyone that hasn't spent as much time in the weeds of bot mania as you have, can you just explain what exactly is a bot?
I have been in the weeds of the bot mania. It's quite a place to be. And it can sound really techie when we talk about this stuff, but it's pretty much every time you jump on social media and you see somewhat of a spammy comment on a popular Instagram account, just look at the Daily Aus account, you'll see plenty of them.
Excellent plug.
Excellent plug. They'll probably be in the comment section within seconds of making a post on Instagram.
Yeah, and I feel like, you know, even if you just look at our Instagram, you're seeing things like how Coach Sarah changed my life. They've changed the name of Sarah to multiple different women, but there you go. There's some like semi-nude women that have come up in GIFs in our comment section.
Click on my bio, you'll get rich fast.
So those sorts of comments, you're saying those are coming from bot accounts, right?
Yep, so that is a bot account. But when we look at bots more broadly, bots are programmed to perform automated, repetitive tasks over a network.
Okay.
So they're deliberately designed to mimic human behaviour. They look like humans. They sound like real users. Only bots can generate content at a speed and a scale that we humans simply couldn't. So that's thousands upon thousands of comments a day. There are some helpful bots like ChatGPT is a chatbot, Siri, Alexa, but others, as we know, are less helpful.
They are less helpful, but they are absolutely everywhere. Like it takes, 1 second of looking, as you said, at a popular account and you just get flooded with this stuff. How significant, I'm just using anecdotal evidence here. So how significant are the presence of these bots in the online world?
Yeah, it's wild. And to give you a sense of the scale of things, nearly half of all online traffic in 2023 came from fake users.
That is crazy.
So bots.
Yeah.
Now, that's according to a new report by IT security firm called Imperva, which found that bad bots programmed to defraud and scam users accounted for nearly 1/3 of all of that traffic.
Wow. I mean, I knew they were everywhere, but that's really, they're everywhere.
They're everywhere.
And so when we're thinking about bots, I think that anyone that has spent time on the internet knows not to click on, come earn money with me with your crypto dollars, in our comment section. But what are some of the other ways the bots show up or the other ways that they can, influence behaviours or conversations?
Well, yeah, of course you can try and avoid clicking on the fraudulent links if you know the signs to look out for. But what I was really interested in was the way bots can be used to make an opinion seem like a fact or to make it feel and seem as though it has either widespread support or widespread opposition for something. What does that do for real users online? Because if you can gear thousands upon thousands of accounts to push a certain narrative, that can be really dangerous if we think about elections or democracy or just public discourse at large.
I think it's a really interesting topic, but it does still seem quite up there, and I would love to bring it down here. Is there an example that you can just provide, to give some orientation as to what you're actually talking about here?
Yeah. So let's just say you're scrolling on X and you read a bunch of different tweets, retweets, shares, comments of those tweets saying apples are really, really bad for you. And instead, you should be buying oranges. This is really basic, but just to wrap our heads around it, you're probably going to start feeling a little bit sus about apples, even though you might really like them. You just sort of have a bit of questions about that. You might even consider buying more oranges. And bots can create these spaces that feel like communities are sharing ideas, that it's just normal people talking about how we all don't really like apples, but there is an agenda at play. Now, when you consider the influence that, as I said, this could have on politics or elections.
Not just apples and oranges.
Not just apples and oranges. It can be really scary.
What do the experts say about bots? Because, they are a fairly new phenomenon, but there must be a body of research out there.
I reached out to a bot doc.
Of course. A bot doc.
Yes.
A doc of bot.
She does have a real name. Her name is Dr. Sophia Melanson Richardone from Canada's McMaster University. Now, she did a PhD on botaganda, when bot armies generate mass content to saturate social media feeds and then manipulate audiences. So Dr. Richardone told me about something called hashtag flooding. You might have seen it. It's like a tweet containing nothing but popularized keywords and catchphrases in the form of hashtag after hashtag after hashtag.
So annoying.
So annoying. Now, this tactic, as well as the rapid resharing of human posts, so 25,000 in 10 minutes, can create, like we were saying before, this illusion of widespread support or widespread opposition for specific viewpoints. She says that this happens as though the idea embedded in the tweet came from grassroots popularization. So when we're talking about mimicking human behavior, it's this feeling of, oh, everyone thinks this.
And you want to be a part of the everyone. Like that's the human condition, right?
Exactly. It's the concept of herd mentality, which is the idea that individuals naturally want to conform to the dominant view of the community.
Yeah. I mean, it's so fascinating. And the reason that you came to, I don't want to say become obsessed with this topic, but started your fascination was around one example that we've seen in the last couple of years. Talk me through the Johnny Depp Amber Heard story.
I don't know if many people will remember what the internet looked like in 2022 during the Johnny Depp Amber Heard defamation trial, but I recently listened to a 6-part podcast that brought me right back there. So for people who need a refresher on the story, essentially Johnny Depp filed a lawsuit against his ex-wife Amber Heard over an opinion article Heard wrote for the Washington Post. She alleged she had experienced domestic abuse. Heard didn't name Depp, but he launched defamation proceedings against her, arguing he was identifiable from the article. And Depp denies claims that he physically abused Heard. Now, a jury in Fairfax County, Virginia, ultimately sided with Depp and Heard was sued for defaming him. But I think you might remember that the court proceedings were streamed online.
Yeah. So I was going to say, can you, in the minds of our listeners, connect what we've just been talking about, which is, you know, all of this stuff about bots and this case? What's the connection here?
So as the case played out in the courtroom, the internet mounted its own unofficial trial of Amber Heard. This is the premise of the podcast I was talking about earlier, Who Trolled Amber? It's by UK media organisation Tortoise. The podcast found that a large part of the online hate campaign against Heard was actually manufactured and executed by bot accounts. Now, I spoke to Xavier Greenwood, who produced the Who Trolled Amber podcast.
Some of the main themes were that Amber Heard deserves prison, Amber Heard is a gold digger, Amber Heard is a fraud, Amber Heard is a liar. To give you a sense of the scale of things, there was a hashtag justice for Johnny Depp that was viewed 15.7 billion times. Hashtag justice for Amber Heard viewed a fraction of that. And my friends were suddenly saying things that didn't really sound like them. They were saying, well, you know, what if this time she was the abuser? And these were people who typically in the Me Too movement would be a bit more cynical or maybe a bit more reserved in making a judgment like that. So, yeah, from the beginning, we sort of saw that this was quite suspicious.
So the team at Tortoise brought together a database of over 1 million anti-Amber Heard tweets. And they brought it together and they found that more than half of them were inauthentic. So what that means is either they were posted from spam accounts with 3 followers and they were built in the last 2 months, or they were amplified in an inauthentic way, so reshared and reshared thousands upon thousands of times.
I think the thing that I wonder when I hear about this story is like, who is behind this trolling campaign? It's very clear who benefits from it, but who's behind it?
We don't know. According to the investigation, the team could hypothesize multiple different scenarios and there likely were multiple different agendas at play.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So this could be genuine Johnny Depp fans who can acquire bots for pretty cheap online and push support for their favourite actor. In other scenarios, Xavier floats what he calls a more abstract theory.
I think it's sort of fairly widely known now that authoritarian regimes who want to sow discord or want to cause confusion in the West that they seek out wedge issues. So they seek out issues which divide Britons, divide Americans, divide Australians. They try to sort of drive a deeper wedge.
But something that really stuck with me from my conversation with Xavier was a point he made about the future of political discourse on social media.
If you can attack a celebrity who has an enormous amount of resources, as Amber Heard did, what's to stop someone doing the same thing when it comes to attacking a politician or when it comes to trying to sway an election?
I mean, we're talking there about elections, and we of course know that there is one coming up just around the corner in the US. Are we expecting to see this sort of interference from bots in the US election this year?
We already have.
Yeah.
Last month, the Biden administration charged Russian media executives over an alleged targeted online campaign to influence voters in the US and push hidden Russian government messaging. Now, it comes after US officials seized 32 internet domain names that were covertly targeting specific demographics on social media and promoting AI-generated false narratives and pushing that to those groups.
Okay, so there are already allegations that we've seen this at play when it comes to the US election.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that a natural endpoint here is that if we're talking about the fact that even the most powerful institutions, people, whatever in the world, can be susceptible to this kind of botaganda, as we'll call it, what is like an average Joe like you or I meant to do when it comes to protecting yourself against something like this?
Well, that was what came back in so many of the conversations I was having. For the average Joe, like you and me, a lot of it comes down to awareness, staying vigilant, staying curious, question what you're getting served, who's pushing it. And that's generally for anything that you see online. But particularly when you're thinking something looks a bit spammy, it likely might be. It's important to be critical about the content you're seeing before you form an opinion, especially ahead of an election. Now, as for what comes next, Xavier Greenwood says we're largely in uncharted waters.
What we saw with the Amber Heard trial, we may well continue to see in an even more intense way in the future. To some extent, the genie is out of the box.
Well, Chloe, I am absolutely terrified about the state of the internet. So thank you for enlightening me on that. And thanks for jumping on today's pod. And thank you for listening to this episode of The Daily Aus. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, we would love it if you could hit follow. It sends a signal to the platforms that you love what we're doing. And if you're watching us on YouTube, you can hit subscribe there and the same thing happens. We'll be back again tomorrow. But until then, have a fabulous day.